What is up, guys? Delboy here. Today I'm going to be talking about Jarrett Hurd versus Erislandy Lara. This fight is a unification fight at super welterweight. Jarrett Hurd's IBF title is going to be on the line, and Erislandy Lara's WBA title is also going to be on the line. Now, I really like this fight, I have to say. Firstly, to me, the division of super welterweight has been a disappointment for years. It's a division that has been showing a lot of promise in terms of the talent that it holds, but we've never got the fights that we want. We've never really got the big unification fights, and you know, it's just become a bit of a stagnant division. You know, we had Jermall Charlo. He briefly held the IBF title, but he moved up to middleweight. You had Liam Smith getting hold of the WBO belt by beating nobody, and he lost it to Alvarez. That belt became vacant, and obviously Saddam Ali won it. Erislandy Lara's been inactive and fighting nobodies. Jermall Charlo's doing some okay work, but again, he's not unified. Demetrius Andrade, again another contender, showed some promise but hasn't done anything. The division itself has been a bit of a disappointment over the last few years, and that's where I want to give Jarrett Hurd some credit. Now, I know Jarrett Hurd divides opinion. Firstly, in regards to his skill set, he is quite limited, and there's also the accusation that the guy is a weight bully. Now, me personally, I don't really care about the whole weight bully thing, because firstly, it's been a part of boxing for years now. I mean, I used to like Margarito when he fought back in the day, and let's be honest, at welterweight, he always used to have a huge size advantage. It was what it was, man. That was one of his traits. He could cut a lot of weight. Now, the real question you're asking is, can these guys cut this weight in a legitimate way, or do they need other help to make the weight? That's the question you're asking, and the answer is, from me, I don't know, and I don't really care, to be quite honest. But it is what it is. That's just meh. That's neither here nor there to me. One thing I will say about Jarrett Hurd, regardless of what you think of him in terms of his skill set or how he makes the weight, he's been the only guy in recent years in this division who has proactively pushed for unification fights. He's not being hard to deal with. He just wants those big fights, and he won the title against Tony Harrison, a vacant title. He had one solid defence against Austin Trout. I felt he had the right to make a defence against a solid guy. He done that, and straight away he jumped into a unification fight. But before, we had guys like Jermall Charlo, who had a couple of fights at the weight and jump up. Then they jump up to middleweight. Alvarez, Alvarez was being Alvarez, being a diva. You had Lara fighting nobodies for God knows how long. Again, Jermall Charlo still not unified. Andrade didn't do anything at the weight. So we've had all of these guys for these last few years doing nothing, and this guy's won a title and pretty much straight away is jumping in to a unification fight. And I find it refreshing that a guy isn't hootering and hollering, talking about how great he is, but he's just jumping into the fight. He's not just saying the right things and then not following up with action. He's saying the right things and following through with what he's saying. You know, he said he wants unification fights, and he's jumped in with Lara, who apparently is an avoided guy. So I've got to give Jarrett Hurd credit, and I've got to say, I do want Jarrett Hurd to win this fight. I'll be honest, I'm pretty much done watching Lara at this stage. He's a guy who has a lot of talent. He's got a lot of ability. He's got good footwork. Defensively, he's solid. I feel he could be a lot better offensively in terms of letting his hands go and looking for knockouts. On the come up, I recall watching this guy on ESPN, like Friday Night Fights, and he was knocking people out. He was looking good. You know, he's looking aggressive at times, but he never really carried that out when he raised the levels. And you know what? He's a good fighter. Don't get me wrong. He's a very talented fighter, but I'm just kind of tired of Lara now. I'm tired of him. I don't really care about him when the guy's fighting once a year and he's fighting nobodies. I mean, let's say he wins this fight. Is he going to jump into another unification fight, or is he going to go back to what he was doing and fighting nobodies? So I would rather Jarrett Hurd win this fight. To me, he's showing more signs of wanting to really roll the dice and get in the big fights and really try and make a name for himself. Lara's had that opportunity and he's not taken it, to be honest with you. Stylistically, I do think this fight, you know, you've got to say it favours Lara in a sense, because Jarrett Hurd, he is limited. He's a guy who likes to come forward. He likes to keep a relatively tight guard. He's 6'1". He's a big guy at the weight. He likes to come forward and walk you down, soak up your punishment, and come back to the body and try and wear you out, basically, and try and walk you down and beat you down. He does have a touch of Margarito about him, and that's his MO. Defensively, he's not great. He is, I wouldn't say slow on his feet, but he's quite cumbersome at times. But he does bring good pressure. He does bring a good output, and he's got a good chin by looks of it. I feel he is kind of made for Lara, because ultimately Lara has the quicker feet for a start, but Jarrett Hurd comes forward with little regard for defence. You know, he doesn't really move his head. He does have a okay guard at times, but, you know, it's nothing special. You know, I've seen that guard getting penetrated by Trout. You know, Trout was also catching Hurd flush coming in when Hurd was trying to walk Trout down. And I feel that Lara's southpaw style, his quick feet and his ability to change angles on Hurd will leave him open for counter punches. Also, a flaw that I've seen in Jarrett Hurd is the fact that when he's coming forward, and I've noticed it in the fights with Tony Harrison and Austin Trout, because both of those guys were guys who are moving, he basically, a lot of the time, he reaches in with his punches. So he's not great at gauging distance. Sometimes he'll throw punches when he's slightly out of range, and he'll reach in with them, especially that right hand. And that's going to give Erislandy Lara ample opportunities to counter. And Lara hits hard enough to get your attention. Does he hit as hard as Tony Harrison, who is arguably the biggest puncher Hurd has faced so far? Maybe not. And Hurd took those shots well, but you don't want to be getting hit flush too often by someone like Lara. He's not a big puncher, but like I said, he hits hard enough to cause some damage. So defensively, he's going to give Lara a lot of openings in this fight. That's just his style. That's just who he is. One thing I will say about Jarrett Hurd that I have noticed also, despite him being defensively open, he actually does have a good habit of kind of taking the sting off shots. So he'll like turn his head with the shot, or he'll kind of roll with a shot as he gets hit. And that is a good trait to have, but regardless, he's still getting tagged, he's still getting landed on, it's still going to cause some damage, but he does have a good habit of doing that. Like I said, stylistically, this fight will give Lara a lot of openings and a lot of opportunities, because like I said, he's quicker on his feet. The southpaw stance of Lara could also trouble Jarrett Hurd, because I felt Trout's did, and Lara is a better boxer than Trout, so yeah, I mean, I think early on in this fight, you could see Jarrett Hurd getting pieced up, actually. I think you'll see him behind on the scorecards after 6 rounds. And I'm pretty confident in that. To me, it's after those 6 rounds when this fight becomes interesting. Firstly, like I said earlier, Jarrett Hurd has an excellent chin, from what I can see. And in the Austin Trout fight, he was clearly losing after 6. You could make an argument that he lost all 6 rounds. But he was still there. He was still walking Trout down. He was still going to that body. He was still trying to let his hands go. He was still trying to push Trout against the ropes and in the corners. You know, he was applying a lot of mental pressure in there. And I feel that that's what really got to Trout in the end. Not so much that he was a worse boxer, but just the mental pressure of dealing with this big lump coming at you, letting his hands go, not responding to anything that you're throwing at him. It does take its toll mentally, and you know that's going to increase the rate of your fatigue. You know, mental stress, mental doubt is going to increase increase the rate of fatigue. You know, and I feel that that's what Jarrett Hurd's style brings. It puts seed of doubt in your mind, and you think to yourself in the back of your mind, can I cope with 6 more rounds of this guy just coming forward and not really tiring? Because that's another thing. Jarrett Hurd has a very good gas tank for a big guy who cuts a lot of weight. And, you know, Lara could be 6 rounds up after 6, but he's got to do it for another 6. Can Lara deal with that, especially at his age? That's going to be that is going to be the interesting part of his fight, is how he deals with Jarrett Hurd in the second half of a fight and down the stretch. Because listen, there are times when Lara was struggling with Angulo's pressure. Angulo is a zombie. When he fought Lara, he was near around his best, and even then I felt he was so limited, and all he was doing was coming forward, not really having any forms of defence, and he was giving Lara a lot of issues. I know Angulo hits a lot harder than Jarrett Hurd, but Hurd brings a lot more volume than Angulo. He's bigger, he's quicker, he's a better body puncher, he is a better fighter than Angulo. You know, even than as Martirosyan. When Martirosyan was actually stepping on the gas, I felt Lara looked uncomfortable at times. When Molina swarmed Lara, Lara looked poor. If you can get close to Lara and work, you're going to have success. You know, I feel there are routes that Hurd has success in this fight, and it becomes even more interesting in the second half. I feel in the first half, Lara's going to be clearly winning. He's going to be outboxing Jarrett Hurd, and in the second half, he's going to start to slow down. Naturally being the older man, naturally being the guy who's moving more, he's going to want to take breaks. He's going to have moments when he's against the ropes, and that's the time when Hurd will start to put it on him. And I think this fight is going to be a slow burner, and I'm looking forward to it. I feel right now, Lara I still think he edges it just about. I think he wins a competitive decision, and he escapes with the win here. I would like Jarrett Hurd to win. Like I said, I am rooting for him to win this fight, because like I said, I'm pretty much done with Lara at this stage. If he looks good in this fight, I'll give him all the credit in the world, because it is a tough fight, and I do give Lara credit for taking it, but it's taken him so long to get to this stage, you know. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I make Lara a slight favourite. I will pick him on points in this fight, but I am going to be rooting for Jarrett Hurd. What do you guys think of this fight? I really, really like it. I think it's a good style matchup. What do you guys think? Peace.